Goodness gracious. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call today in order. Oh, yeah, sorry, I can't. I'm confused. Call to order. Adoption of the agenda.
I move that City Council approves the meeting agenda as presented.
All those in favor? Thank you, Councillor Billingsley. I also would like to move closed session right behind this one, so I would like to have a motion to move into a closed session.
Point of order. I guess I will have to change from, we've already approved the agenda. So, but that's fine. So you want to add something to it?
Yes, okay. I will add that we moved right after approval of the agenda into closed session. Council Nielsen?
Thank you. I move that we move into closed session.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I move that we come out of closed session. Oh, I missed it.
Jessica, can you pull up the PowerPoint, please? I'll just. So we are going to go through the PowerPoint that we have up on the screen, and it matches the public-facing document that was presented at Budget Open House last week for the 2026 proposed budget. And then as we get through all of the departments, then we will do operating business cases at the end, which is a slight change from previous years where we would do operating business cases within each presentation. So we've moved them all to the end to try and make things a little bit easier. And I will turn it over to Tolu to start us off.
Excuse me? Thank you. Through the chair to administration. Before we launch into this, I'm wondering if I could get a bit of an explanation on some questions I had submitted earlier. And the questions related to reserves, transfers in on the revenue side and transfers out to reserves on the expense side, and how those numbers are arrived at and the process by which they come into this document. The reason I ask the question is because I know council has the authority to be making decisions relative to reserves. So when I see reserves being moved, I'm also sort of wondering how does that fit in with regard to our authority to move those reserves versus you moving them in the budget process.
Okay. Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, transfer from reserves that you see in revenue are projects that council has approved in the past to be funded from reserves, but that are not complete as at the end of the year. A typical, I'll give you one example. In the finance department, for example, a few years ago, council funded a project out of the finance department. Administration looked for efficiencies on how to complete that work. They gave us a fixed amount of dollars to finish the project, to work on the project, and the project is almost 100% complete, but we still have the person, so the funding carried over to next year. So the revenue from that goes in transfer from reserves on the revenue side. The expenditure would show on the expense side, not as a transfer to reserve though. So that's just the explanation for the transfer from reserve. Another example is a review of all our facilities was done a few years ago and funded by council. And that project has ended up being a multi-year project. It had to do with maintenance. It wasn't capital in nature. So at the beginning of, when we budget, we show how much money is left based on the work that's been done up till this year, what portion of that work is going to carry forward into next year. We fund it from reserve and show the expenditure on the other side. The second part of your question is the portion of our budget that says transfer to reserves. So, for example, your infrastructure tax is one that is we levy by bylaw and is included in taxation. So we've included in the budget so that we can get the cash in, and then at the end of the year, we transfer those dollars to the infrastructure reserve.
Thank you. Can I pursue a little bit? Over here now. Thank you for that explanation. So when we get a copy of our balances in reserves, it was effective, I think, the end of September. And so when we look at those numbers, and now we look at reserves in this budget document, have we accounted for the balances? If we are moving money into this budget, is that going to be decreasing the reserve balances, or are we taking into consideration the fact that we have moved those projects into this budget and it will not affect the reserve balances?
Through the chair to Councillor Nelson, any Any amounts that says transfer from reserves in the budget comes from funds that are already committed
Thank you.
through those reserves. So they're reflected already in the document that you have, because the only reason we could have it in the operating budget is because council had made a decision prior committing those funds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Through the chair, just follow up to Lou. For an example on monies that are being transferred into reserve. So, and I don't have it in front of me, the page, but Manluck Center, I think we're transferring $60,000 or $80,000, right? How is that number being arrived at? Because we already had a reserve with a balance. So what was the process of determining that amount to go into the reserve? For an example.
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, the City of Wetaskiwin has a policy, a reserve policy approved by council. In our reserve policy, there's a target threshold that is set in the policy of where we want to be. An example, a fleet and facilities reserve, the target is 10% of the net book value of our assets. So on an annual basis, we don't make a change except council directs otherwise to what we've been putting in, because the goal is to build those reserves over a period of time. To keep the operating budget stable, we usually look at what we've been transferring over the prior years. Another example is in the recreations department, where after the facilities life cycle project was done that said we're not saving enough towards our facilities, there was 4% recommendation to increase that amount. So we put that in the budget, and then at the end of the year, we transfer it to those reserves, which is why after year end, you always see that the reserve balances increase when the transfer has been done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. I will now begin with the operating budget assumptions. The 2026 budget was prepared based, oh, my apologies. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So I will begin by discussing the operating budget assumptions. Annually, we discuss with our assessor, Accurate Assessment Group, about what the forecast growth is for the municipality going into the next year. Assessment growth for next year is estimated at 0.64% for non-residential properties and 0.17% for residential properties. I would also like to add that this is specifically growth and does not include inflation. Our assessment records, our assessment is filed with the province, usually at the end of February on an annual basis, and the assessor is able to finalize the assessment at that time prior to the tax notices, the tax rates being set for the municipality. In preparing this budget as well, we have considered the Bank of Canada's overnight interest rate, which is now currently at 2.25%. As we all know, you will notice in the budget, you will notice that there's a decrease in interest revenue compared to prior years, reflecting the decrease in interest rates that the Bank of Canada has made throughout this year. A 1% increase in tax rate is approximately $208,742. So when we say that we project a 4.35% increase, it's over $1 million, but we speak it in tax rate based on the tax rate levied by council last year. Projects previously approved to be funded from reserves in prior years have been added to the base budget from the revenue and the expenditure side. Most of these are what council sees in the revenue side as transfer from reserve. We have provided council with a detailed version of the base budget, and that was based on the actual expenditures in that document was based on actual expenditures incurred as at September 30, 2025. Based on the budget that administration has presented to council and which was discussed at public engagement sessions last week, The increase to the operating budget base is 4.35% to cover operations at current service levels or any council motions that were made throughout 2025. Council has been provided with a summary of some of the larger citywide impacts throughout this document. We expect an increase based on the changes in assessment of about $707,000 from growth in industrial and commercial property assessment as provided. Some increase in administrative fee revenues, which is mainly due to the return on investment from PCL's utilities. Decreased funding from reserve for some projects that are completed in 2025. So both the revenue and expenditures are not in the budget. There's been an impact as well from franchise fee revenue. First, from the 1% decrease and also a decrease in the revenue that ATCO and Fortis anticipates that the city will receive, perhaps from decreased usage of their utilities. There's also a decrease in provincial fine revenues due to the end of the photo reader, the red light cameras. Taxation penalties have decreased considerably due to additional efforts in tax recovery and collections. We have more people paying, and we hope to invest those funds to get some interest revenue, as discussed last week during the public engagement. There were also some impacts on expenditures. RCMP contract expense due to their retro pay in excess of $500,000. Decreased transfer to individuals and organizations due to eliminating the city's contribution to WDAX. With WDAX, we anticipate that they will be one of the groups presenting to council later today. We have removed it from the operating budget, and council discusses this annually and determines whether or not we are proceeding with this. There's been a decreased rebates as council approved the one-year home builder incentive for 2025 only. The difference of $16,800 was due to 6 new properties being identified as tax exempt under the Affordable Housing Act. This was also presented to council at the last regular council meeting. There's been increased electricity costs, mainly due to the operations of the new wastewater treatment plant. However, we're speaking about the expenditures here, but the revenues from PCLs has also increased. Wages and benefit costs have also increased due to step increases, increasing WCB premiums, and Sun Life benefits, the extended health benefit that the city provides to its employees. Then I'm going to move on to debt schedule and our reserve balances. We paid off some loan balances in 2026. We have 2027, 7 more will be paid, leaving only 7 of our debentures remaining. We have an uncommitted reserve balance of $16 million. And our capital reserves have an uncommitted balance of $16 million, and our operating reserves have an uncommitted balance of just over $2.5 million. Thank you.
I have a debt question. I see we're planning to pay down or pay off 1.8 or 1.28 million, but I haven't, maybe I don't know where to look, but I haven't seen what is our total debt load. Like I see payoff amounts for future years, but what is the total current outstanding debt?
As at the end of 2024, as of today.
24.
Okay. Just give me 1 minute. I have it open. Through the chair to Councillor White, at the end of December 2024, we had $10.2 million in outstanding debt. We had $10,219,261 in debt.
Through the chair to Touloup again, can I get the number for the end of anticipated number for the end of 25? this and it's 9 something.
Through the chair to the chair, we're just going through our debt schedule. I need just 1 second.
Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor White, it'll be about 9.5 million at the end of December 2025.
Thank you. For public record, I'd like to make note that we are paying down our debt.
I have a question on the raises in the Sun Life increase and the workman's comp. Is that across the industry, or is that just specific to us?
Through the chair to Councillor Hoyle, the Sun Life increase is, I would assume, beyond our industry. So who we go through for our benefits is Alberta municipalities. They go to the market to negotiate the rates and then pass that on to us. That keeps it independent of us and gives them a wider market base. But Alberta municipalities does not just do benefits for municipalities. They include not-for-profits as well.
What about the workman's comp increase? Is that again across the board, or is that specific to us?
Through the chair to Councillor Hoyle, I could take that back as a budget information request,
Okay.
but WCB just communicates your own rates to you.
Right.
I would presume it's at least across municipalities, but they look at a lot of factors in determining their rates,
Okay, thank
which
you.
we're not privy to. Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor Branco, the PCEL's utilities is 100% owned by the city of Wetaskiwin. We get our electricity through AB municipalities. The increased electricity costs that we reflect is to show that there's higher fees for electricity. However, I also mentioned that that is matched by increasing revenue that we're also getting back from PCEL's utilities. So essentially, it does nil out for the city, but we do need to, it still adds up. Even if revenues increases, expenditures increase, we do show both sides. Sorry, my mic was off. I will now hand over to the first GM to present the department's budget, and that is Community and Protective Services. Kevin.
Could that be repeated? I couldn't hear the page.
Sorry, Jess, can you bring the PowerPoint up? We're going to start following the PowerPoint, and then it is the orange tab in the public-facing document that says Community and Protective Services.
Page 14.
Starts at page 14, yeah.
Good morning. walk us through the 2026 budget for Community and Protective Services. If we could go to the next slide, please. This represents the departments within Community and Protective Services. You'll notice on the right-hand side of the org chart that Wetaskiwin FCSS, Wetaskiwin Public Library, RCMP, and Transit are not connected directly to CPS. They're fall under the preview of the city manager, but they've been delegated by the city manager to the GM of Community and Protective Services. So that's why they're on this chart. If we could go to the next slide, please. Start with Community and Protective Services Administration. This is a net budget of $312,000. This is a slight increase over 2020 over the previous budget, which was $306,000. This represents a 1.9% increase in budget for 2026. This is mainly due to salaries and benefit step increases. When we go through these, would you like to ask questions about each section, or for me to give all of it and then questions at the end? What would be council's preference?
Sorry, I should have told administration we had a discussion earlier. We'll just go until a question is asked and then stop and answer those questions as they're asked.
Thank you. One of the, in a little bit more detailed budget, through the chair, I'm sorry, to administration, the public relations staff appreciation expenses 52280. Can you explain to me exactly what that entails?
A very small part of it is staff appreciation. The bulk of that is the other portion. And if I just pull this up, I can get that information for you here.
While you look that up, I do also have a follow-up question. The budget amount is not changing going forward, but we spent about half of it so far this year, 3/4 through the year. Are you anticipating that amount being spent to the maximum?
Through the chair to council, the bulk of this is supporting the orange shirt. Truth and Reconciliation. That would be the bulk of this. There's only a few $100s for team recognition. So for this year, don't foresee too much more spend. Next year would depend on the program that we put forward with our partners for.
Pardon me?
So for next year's spend, it would be dependent upon what type of programming we put forward for that Truth and Reconciliation Day. So it would vary depending upon the programs that we put forward.
So for clarification, just a process. So if I said I believe that this should be a different amount than the 9,700, are we in agreement that this is the time to bring this up and then have that noted? Is that fair? Council? I guess we get to decide. So I am in favor, I'd like to bring forward, of changing the $9,700 down to $5,000.
Which budget line are you on, please?
I'm on 52280 under Costing Center 145. Unfortunately, I can't tell what department number it is, but it's Community and Protective Services. My whole has the...
Your
Yes.
number again, Councillor Billingsley, is what?
52280. It's page 2 of the orange on level 3.
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, finance here, administration will track every change that you make, and we will review it with you
This
at
helps
the
by
end of deliberations.
stating what that is and the amount?
Yeah.
Does that help you?
That is very helpful, Councillor Billingsley. Please state the cost center and the expense code that you want changed.
So, yeah, so that's costing center 145. 52280 is the expense. Okay. And I'm proposing changing from $9,700 to $5,000. I need to find we need to find 4 people who think that that's a great idea or not. Is there any discussion on this? Does any? There you go.
No, through the chair to council, because we work with the museum, I believe Councillor Aberley was trying to recuse herself from the vote on this. But everyone else would, you don't have to leave the room, it's just everyone else would either debate, if you want to, the merits of it, and then do a straw poll to see whether or not you want finance to add it to the list of changes.
I need to be excused for pecuniary interests as the coordinator or the executive director of the Heritage Museum that receives funding to run National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Thank you.
No.
No, we haven't decided whether or not this gets changed.
Thank you. Through the chair to Kevin. The request to reduce this amount, how do you see it impacting moving forward? So, for example, we had a council remove themselves for pecuniary interest, but we did spend the money on that event this year. So is it safe to assume that that event would be anticipated to be part of those expenditures moving forward in this next budget year?
Through the chair to council, that would be correct. Like originally stated, the programming going forward might have to change depending on the amount of budget that council allows for this particular project. So currently it's whatever you set, and that we will do the work with the museum to get whatever programming we can for the amount of money that council puts forward for this.
Thank you. Through the chair, I guess to Kevin, you indicated that there probably is not much more money coming in at $4,000. We expenses of $4,000. So realistically, $5,000 should, with any potential cost of living, whatever small increases, the $5,000 should cover the things that we did in 2025.
Through the chair to council, we would have the same type of programming for next year that we had this year.
Okay, thank you.
That was my point too.
Suggestion? We should probably get Karen back.
This is the time to ask it. We'll wait for Karen to come back.
All right, can we move on to the next slide, please?
No.
Kevin, under that same idea, we have a business travel expense. Last year, it was $136, but I see we have $1,500 budgeted going forward. What would that look like? What would the travel and business expense be for? It's line 52110 in our budget.
Through the chair to council, last year was kind of a transition year for myself moving into this role. So I didn't go to any conferences or meetings or outside information, just trying to learn the role, and sorry about my voice.
Perfect, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
On the same page, sorry, through the chair to administration, can I have some more understanding of contracted services that were budgeted for 153 this year and 103 for 2026? Help me know what that's about.
Through the chair to council, previously we had a joint venture set up with the city of Wetaskiwin to set up a intermunicipal treaty, truth and reconciliation. The city of Leduc backed out of that, so then that funding, which was to the tune of about $50,000, was removed because it was to set up this, and with Leduc backing out, then that was removed from the budget.
Thank you. That answers the 50,000. What's the 103 that's still requested? What would that be for?
Through the chair to council, this is for consultants, legal action. This is also for Taste of Wetaskiwin Canada Day. This is also for the supporting the museum.
I'm going to talk about Taste of Wetaskiwin.
I will be excusing myself again. Interest, the same reason.
Thank you. So we have 103,000. Is it just those two events?
The bulk of, through the chair to council, sorry, the bulk of the budget items within there are to support the museum.
So the 103,000 that's projected is more than Taste of Wetaskiwin and Canada Day?
75,000 of that is just to pay our annual museum contract to support ongoing operations within the museum for the city of Wetaskiwin.
And does that have anything to do with the archives?
That
No,
is
that's
separate.
Okay, so Taste of Wetaskiwin, is this what kind of event is it as far as money goes? Is it a fundraiser? And do we have an amount, like, is that broken out somewhere? I don't have that, so.
For the city, through the chair to council, for the city to run Taste of Wetaskiwin Canada Day, we're currently putting in approximately $18,000 for those events.
And is that to cover the cost that is not recovered from the event?
That would be correct.
So they run the event at an $18,000 deficit and then we top it up to even? Does that make sense? No?
I think the question is there a revenue side to attach to those events?
Thank you.
Okay, through the chair to council, for only for the Taste of Wetaskiwin, yeah, there is some revenue generation, but not nearly enough to cover the costs of the event. Because it's for the whole welcoming week. The city is involved in various portions of that.
I do. It's my understanding that we sponsor whatever term you want to use, up to $10,000, or not even, is $10,000 for the Taste of Wetaskiwin. We can have that discussion, I guess, whether or not we want to continue on with that. The second one, you said Canada Day is about is $8,000? Is it a receipt thing, or is it we give you $8,000, you provide X, Y, and Z as far as services go?
Through the chair to council, the way we ran it this year, it was a receipt thing. As receipts are put forward, then we pay those receipts.
So we have added a person in the rec department, I guess, at least I believe that we have, that oversees some of these type of things. In other words, if we pull the $8,000 from Canada Day from the museum, do we have the ability to be able to do most of the things in-house for Canada Day?
Through the chair to council, there would probably be enough staff working with economic development, recreation, and some other departments like Public Works to be able to support the parade of Canada Day, and that would be probably it. Through the chair to council, that would be correct. There is in-kind expenses and costs through the city to set up those operations. And currently, just as a reminder, that these events are within a administrative MOU with the museum. So if we decided to change these events or the amount within these events, we would have to go back and change the MOU.
I'm wondering if we need to go in closed session to discuss the MOU, if we are thinking of pulling these funds. And if nobody's thinking of pulling the funds, then I move that we go in closed session.
No, all in favor.
What's that?
All in favor.
Yes, I am.
And we can't bring our book.
shoot.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Someone grab Karen? Yeah.
Yep.
Morning, Council. Once the PowerPoint is up, we'll just continue on. Perfect, thank you. Next department we'll talk about is economic development. We currently have 5 main focuses within the economic development department. They're investment attraction, business development, workforce development, tourism and resident attraction, and downtown vitality. Next slide, please. We have a net budget of approximately $438,000. This is a decrease over the current budget year, which was $455,000. This represents a decrease of about $17,000 or 3.7%. This is mainly due to increase in franchise revenue of $10,000. And just a reminder that this department does have limited revenue from other sponsorships as well. Any questions before I move on?
Questions?
Yep. Through the chair to Edmund, can you tell me more about the bullet point that I see that says this is due to increase in franchise revenue of 10K? In my mind, I'm thinking of the 1% decrease from the Fortis piece, so where's the 10K more coming from?
Through the chair to council, the agreement for Co-op Place was 30K, not 40K in 2025.
Thank you.
I'm trying to understand
Numbers?
here. So in our budget, we show through the chair to administration, we show revenue coming in of this year of $52,000. Is that correct? And we're budgeting for $40,000. So is a contract dropping, or is a sponsorship dropping off? What I'm not understanding, and then when it says this is mainly, so not entirely, due to an increase of a franchise revenue, and I guess definition of franchise revenue is sponsorship?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, yeah, that is sponsorship. However, in 2025, we build out all our receivables from prior years. So the revenue showed up. You'll see that the revenue in 2025 is at 52,000. It's not going to be 52,000 going forward. We had done a big cleanup of revenues and receivables and collected the $52,000 in 2025. The amount going forward is the 30,000.
Okay.
The 40,000.
Okay, so then help me understand receivables and economic development sponsorship revenue. Where, how, more importantly, how? If it's, were these sponsorships over the last few years that were unpaid invoices, is that fair?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, the billing was not 100% correct. And as we all know, there's been a few years of catch-up with finance from prior periods, and that's how some of this revenue has come in. However, it's not indicative of the future. Again, it's for sponsorship or whatever name that we would term it for Co-op Place.
So all of the revenue, sponsorship revenue, goes into economic development, 100%?
Just this particular one. I'm not, and that was how it was previously set up. So we don't change things like this so that we could have comparatives.
And so, and just for clarification, definition of franchise revenue is sponsorship?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, administration will correct that to say sponsorship.
Thank you.
All right, if we can go to the next slide, please. Fire services. This department will continue to focus on in 2026 emergency response, continue building the team, fire inspections, fire prevention and education, fire investigations, and training and development. There's an There's a net budget of approximately 1.35 million. This is a decrease over the current budget year, which we had a budget of 1.5 million. This is represents a 12.7 decrease for 2026. This is mainly due to software consolidation within ITIS and a thorough review of all GL accounts within the fire services to align with multi-year averages, where fire department and finance went through and looked for possible savings. This department does have revenue from cost recoveries related to vehicle and structure fires, as well as incidents and inspections. Any questions within fire services? Questions?
I move that we go into closed session.
I move that we come out of closed session, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I think we're waiting for more questions.
I've got some questions. Thank you. On fire protection services, breathing air program, please. Kevin, could you tell me what that's about, please?
Sure, through the chair to council. So it'd be similar to scuba gear, which is self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. The fire department has SCBA, which is, forget the U because they're not underwater. They're in the water. So this is for the maintenance of the air compressor that they have to produce the breathing air. It's for the maintenance of all their SCBA gear, their tanks, masks, hoses, that type of thing.
Thank you. And so the fact they budgeted $10,000 and they've spent $1,400, recognizing that is 3/4 of the way through, and budgeting again for another 10.8. Is the reason why we picked 10.8 and why we have the expenditure levels we do, which is significantly lower than that budgeted amount?
Sure, through the chair to council. In the past 2 years, we have been under budget for personnel, our paid on-call firefighters, by about half of what we currently have. So we bring on more staff. We're going to equip them with more gear and equipment. So this is, now that we're at the level of personnel that this budget should reflect, we should be okay going forward. It's the past 2 years that we have been under budget for personnel. So our budget was higher than probably what we required.
So that's the gear where they have to each individually be tested for suction to the face, so to speak, to ensure that there was no permeability.
Through the chair to council, that would be correct. Each individual, let me back up. The tanks are generic and they can, of course, go to anybody. The certain masks are fit to yourself and you know, they're for you.
Okay, thank you. Kit maintenance, can you help me with that one? Kit maintenance? Budget line 55291, kit maintenance, budgeted 5,100, spent 22 to date.
Through the chair to council, the kit maintenance item is for cost to uniform repairs, boots, coats, hat, gloves. For example, the firefighter's helmet that the firefighters use, they range in price from about $400 to $700 each. And then you got the fireproof gloves, or not fireproof, fire-resistant gloves. Those are upwards of $400 or $500 each as well.
Okay, so if we have the same argument again, same argument, that's a bad choice of words, same discussion points, relative to as we increase the number of volunteers we have becoming firefighters for our community, then as much as we have the breathing air program because it's specific to them, where do we find, never mind, I just did, but it's the protective clothing reimbursement. I'm assuming the protective clothing is all their fire jackets, helmets, boots?
Through the chair to council, boots would be included as well, yes.
And so we would foresee some more significant spending on this budget line then between now and the end of the year because of the new number of recruits.
Through the chair to council, my recommendation would be to let's see how this year goes now that we have a full complement of paid on-call firefighters. This year in 2025, we didn't start off with a full complement. We gradually grew as the year went along. So the numbers will next year be more reflective of actual going forward.
But my point here is that we budgeted 26,000, knowing that we only had X number of employees, or firefighters.
Sorry, Councillor Nielsen, through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, I also want to make note that on both of those line items, Finance did go through and took the average of the last 3 years and did reduce the budget moving forward.
No, and my concern isn't that the amount, my concern is the amount that they put in at 20,000. My point being, we put in $26,000 for protective clothing.
Correct.
For fewer people than we have currently, because we've been adding recruits throughout the year. And so now we're up to a complement of 40, and yet the protective clothing budget has dropped. How often is that clothing reordered or whatever? I'm really questioning whether we have enough money there.
Right. Through the chair to council, as of right now, the most reflective budget is, or the most reflective spend is in that protective clothing reimbursement account. We are at 24,500 out of a budget of 26,600. So we're within 1,000 of the budget, and we still have a month and a half to go.
Right. And how often is the clothing replaced? So does every firefighter get one pair of boots, one pair of pants, one pair of jacket that's going to last them for 25 years? I'm being facetious here. Or are we turning that material over on a regular basis?
Through the chair to council, as I recall, last year council instructed administration to reduce the turnover or turnout gear from 3 to 2 replacements a year. So that's, the budget was decreased last year to go from 3 turnout replacements to 2, and that's what is currently reflective in the budget. It was 5 to 3, so we lost 2. I knew there was a 2 in there somewhere.
So every firefighter would have new gear 2 or 3 times a year?
That would be the max, depending on if they needed it. We don't buy new gear just for the sake of it, but if they went through it, that would be the max that we could purchase for them in a year.
Thank you. And if I may continue, through the chair to, I guess, Sue. Sue, throughout this budget, I see in professional development, I see 2 categories.